When a time of pain comes upon you, you must observe your thoughts through the pain without believing them. See the thought to surrender to the pain, but remember you are not separate and need not surrender to that which teaches separateness. Now, I remember doing this. I remember, again, for me, one of my big pains in this process has been what I'm going to call fear of lack. More specifically, fear of, financially not having what I need to survive for both me and my daughter. So I remember a few times when this emotional pain hit, this emotional pain that came from the belief in lack. And I remember my mind making a myriad of suggestions of what I could do to stop this impending disaster. The disaster was never specific, but just somehow impending disaster if that flow of money, some certainty of a flow of money was not put in place. And so what I did when this fear would come upon me is I would do exactly what Holy Spirit is suggesting here. I would see my strong desire, my strong willingness to do what the mind was asking me to do. Start, in my case, maybe charging for counseling, for example, right? When people call me, tell them it costs this much to talk to me. Or run out and, get a real job. Something, with a paycheck and health insurance and all of that kind of stuff. I would see whatever my mind was telling me to do. But I would also recognize very clearly that that desire was the belief in separation. And in fact, it wasn't hard for me to see that, because I could see that what my mind was telling me is it was up to me, Regina, to make money to take care of Jasmine and me. It was up to me. There was no God, no oneness, no connection that was going to take care of this for me, right? It was up to me. And I knew that that was a belief in separation. At the same time, I had guidance, and I do want to emphasize that this was guidance, because not everyone's guidance is the same as mine. But I had guidance to continue to do. In effect, Holy Spirit had given me a job. It's not like I didn't have a job. Holy Spirit had given me a job. I was writing NTI, teaching on Pal Talk, doing counseling over the phone, right? All of these things, this was my job. And my guidance was just to keep doing my job as Holy Spirit gave it to me, and to trust that I was being provided for. But the emotional pain said no, no, no. So you see, the emotional pain was teaching separation. There's nothing out there that's going to take care of you, Regina. You've got to take care of yourself. My guidance was keep doing what you're guided to do and trust. So it was very clear which voice was teaching separation, right? Very clear. So what I had to decide to do, and this was a conscious decision, was not listen to the voice that was teaching separation. And I'm not going to say it was easy for me, and I am going to say it was easy for me, because it was kind of both. It wasn't easy for me because there was a lot of emotional pain and a lot of fear. It was easy for me because I knew it was the only decision I wanted to make. Does that make sense? It was like, I felt like if I didn't follow my guidance in my case, that somehow I was ripping myself off. I knew that I wanted to learn that separation was not true. I knew that I wanted to learn that God was real. And I knew that my guidance was given to me for that purpose, right? So I had a strong willingness, which counteracted that strong willingness to listen to fear. The strong willingness to listen to fear showed up, but I had a strong willingness to learn that only the truth is true. And that strong willingness to learn that only the truth is true allowed me to not listen to my fear, to not become a slave to my emotional pain. So again, back to this paragraph. When a time of pain comes upon you, you must observe your thoughts through the pain without believing them. See the thought to surrender to the pain, but remember, you are not separate and need not surrender to that which teaches separateness. Pay attention, careful attention, to other thoughts that rise through the pain. So here's some of what pain is teaching. Maybe not with these exact words, but with some kind of story, right? Pain is teaching, I am victim. Pain is teaching, I am afraid. Something is wrong with me. There is no God. I hate myself. There is only loss. Now again, the ego might say some of these sentences directly. It might not. It might just have a story. And if you're believing the story and listening to the story, this is what's really being communicated, subliminally. Right? So he says, watch your mind. Watch. Watch for these ideas that the emotional pain is teaching. Be smart. Right? Be smart. Don't just believe it. Look at what it's teaching and ask yourself, is it my purpose to learn these messages? Or is there something else I want to learn? And like I said, what enabled me to not listen to my emotional pain was because there was something else I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn that the truth was true. I wanted to learn there is a God. I wanted to learn we are one, right? And the pain was teaching something different. So when I looked closely at what the pain was teaching, I knew I didn't want to listen to it, because to listen to it would be to learn its message. Again, the pain says, I am victim. I am afraid. Something is wrong with me. There is no God. I hate myself. There is only loss. So the real question is, are these the messages we want to learn? Holy Spirit continues. Watch the thoughts that arise and remain aware that you need not accept these thoughts. In observing the thoughts that come up through the pain, without slipping into accepting the thoughts, you release many false thoughts from the mind. Now this is really interesting because, lots of people get the idea that you really have to do something to let go of ego. But what this is really saying is by doing nothing, you're letting go of ego. And we all know that line from A Course in Miracles. It's also in NTI, I need do nothing, right? The pain is telling you do this, do this, do this, do this, right? By watching the pain, observing its messages, recognizing that you do not want to learn those messages, and doing nothing, that's how you let go of ego. Now, of course, that do nothing is not a lazy do nothing. It can take a lot of determination. It's a do nothing that can take a lot of effort if the ego is very, very loud. But it's not doing when the ego is screaming that you must. You must do something to change this. You must do something to prevent this. You must do something to make this happen. And instead, we sit through that emotional pain. We watch those messages, and we choose to do nothing because we do not want to learn what they are teaching. So again, Holy Spirit says, watch the thoughts that arise and remain aware that you need not accept these thoughts. In observing the thoughts that come up through the pain, without slipping into accepting the thoughts, you release many false thoughts from the mind. I love that. So just through the act of not doing what these thoughts are telling us, we let go of ego. Right? Because we're not believing ego this time. Holy Spirit continues. You take a step out of the sleeping mind and stand more clearly within wakefulness. Now, I've been through emotional pain more than once, but each time was another step, right? Another step out of the sleeping mind and more clearly into wakefulness. Every time we do not do what our emotional pain is telling us to do, we're letting go of ego a little more. You take a step out of the sleeping mind and stand more clearly within wakefulness. In this way, listen to this sentence, pain becomes a gift because it is an impetus. I'll have to look that word up. The Holy Spirit uses words I don't know. Somebody else write in for me what impetus is. In this way, pain becomes a gift because it is an impetus that flushes up thoughts you have accepted and may not have seen in the mind before. Okay, Christian's giving me the definition, a driving force. Okay, so here we go. Tell Holy Spirit when he's talking to me to use simpler language, please. Why would he use such a word with me? I don't know. But here we go. In this way, pain becomes a gift because it is a driving force. I like that better. Because it is a driving force that flushes up thoughts you have accepted and may not have seen in the mind before. So what he is telling us is when the emotional pain comes, if we choose to watch it and do nothing, like he's teaching us, we will see these disguised thoughts, and maybe sometimes not even disguised, these thoughts that say things like, I am victim, I am afraid, something is wrong with me, there is no God, I hate myself, there is only loss. We will see these thoughts like we've never seen them before, and we'll choose not to believe them. We'll choose not to take the action the emotional pain is recommending. And we're letting go of these thoughts that we were believing every single time we followed, we surrendered to, we became the slave of our emotional pain before, right? Every time we took action to avoid this or to make this happen, to change this, we were believing these thoughts. We were clinging to the ego, clinging to the ego. But if we can go through the emotional pain, not do what the ego is telling us to do, watch, we'll see these thoughts. And by not taking those actions, we're letting go of these thoughts. And that's how pain is a gift. Do you see? You know, so many of us, we judge pain as bad. Pain itself is something to be avoided. But if we use pain in the way the Holy Spirit is teaching in this message, pain becomes a gift, an opportunity to let go of the ego. And isn't that our purpose? Of course, pain is asking us to avoid pain, right? That's what pain itself is asking us to do. When pain itself tells me to change this, avoid this, make this happen, right? Pain is telling me to avoid pain. Pain is saying, if you change this, you will not have to suffer. If you avoid this, you will not have to suffer. If you can make this happen, you will not have to suffer. And as I listen to that and I, quote, avoid my suffering, I'm actually re-accepting the message of separation, which is going to bring on more suffering. I'm not really avoiding anything. But if I allow myself to experience that pain, I notice those thoughts, and I do not take the actions, I'm now letting go of ego. And that's how pain is a gift. So it's not to be avoided. You could say it's to be embraced, although I must admit, when you're going through it, you don't really feel like you're hugging it or caressing it. At least I don't. But by embraced, I mean I'm willing to practice exactly what Holy Spirit is saying in this message. I'm willing to use the opportunity that pain provides to let go of believing again those messages that I've believed so many times before. And it is true, I know from my own experience, it is true that each time we do that, we take another step out of the sleeping mind into awakening. Which is why this experience, which people often call the purification process, is only temporary. It doesn't go on and on and on and on. Because you're stepping away from the thought itself that creates pain. So eventually pain itself dies. So by avoiding pain, you hold on to pain. By allowing pain, watching what it says, and choosing not to listen to it, not to believe it, not to be its slave, you let go of pain.